you know you've been dealing with NPI too much when you look at the record button on your software and you think it says record, like win-loss record, and you're like, oh, wait, how do I start the recording? I literally just did that as we're about to do this. I can't believe how fried I am right now, but you know what? We press on. You know, us boomers press on, folks, and keep going here until the season is done. Yay. Listen, JB, I've got a complaint for you. I've spent a lot of time making AI to make your life easier with the slides and all that stuff, but I think what you actually did, no problem, except for this. The other day, I'm like, JB, how many feature games do you have that I have to go search and hunt for clips for? And you're like, oh, there's only like 19. And I go into the system and I count, and we ended up with 28 in the end, folks, okay? But it was 26. And he's like, you don't have to get all those video clips. I'm like, you're damn right I'm not. But JB's been having too much fun with the slide creator, I think. And
it is kind of fun. Yeah.
So we will have 18 games worth of video clips coming up for you. But, it's funny because usually this time of year we would be like, hey, the regional rankings are out, JB. We've got to do a special live show with this. Now we just wake up on Sunday morning and just verify that the stuff I've got is correct in our system. And sometimes I have to tweak a couple of small things.
Saturday night even.
Yeah, this week Datacast had to actually do tweaking for once. So I saw their numbers. I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to do something to fix them on Sunday. Nope, we had it right for once. Datacast, you said the ties would be easy, kids. You thought they were gonna be that easy, and you had a little mess up there on that. But hey, you fixed it.
Easy.
No. But we have got a lot of NPI stuff coming at you here, but we're kind of just answering some of the questions you've been asking us along the way. We've got some clinching scenarios. We got 3 teams that already clinched that we'll talk about a little bit in crunch time. What do you want to talk about? Anything that you'd like to talk about before we go to intro?
No, I think let's just roll into it. Let's go.
Okay, you heard the man. This is season 18, our crunch time show for week 9 of In the Huddle. JB, 30,000-foot view is going to be interesting for you as a Hobart guy because you got some excitement during Saturday from your team. Don't call them dead yet in terms of just having a reasonably good season here. But, the WIAC is wacky. We knew that already. The MIAA is looking a little bit wacky in and of itself still. Nothing's changing there. And that bad call is still haunting us all these days later now. To see a name though like Concordia, Wisconsin clinch in week 9, that's unique. That's
Falcons.
Cool. The funky Falcons. I thought you said something else for a second. We'll just assume here that I'm hearing things wrong. Take it away. Your 30,000-foot view for week number 9 before I get us in trouble.
Well, like you said at the top, we had 3 teams punch their ticket to the playoffs, so we're waiting to see what happens with the other 37. And I know there's been a lot in the media, kind of going off about how great River Falls looked. And that is true. Caleb Blaha had an offensive game for the ages. Matt Walker and company put together a great game plan. But I will say this, and I know a lot of times WIAC fans like to say, oh, we're the SEC of Division III. Well, this is a weekend where we're happy that you guys aren't D1 and it's D3 because the way Whitewater played on Saturday would have gotten Jace Rindle fired in a D3 or D1 situation. really probably the worst I've ever seen the Warhawks in 30 plus years of covering D3 football. I watched a little bit of that game. No passion, no fire. It's like they didn't even want to be there. It was just a terrible, I mean, like I said, the Falcons were great. I'm not trying to diminish the win for them, but the Warhawks looked the absolute worst that I've ever seen that program, and they are one of the standard bearers of our division. And that was really, for me, the most shocking thing I think has happened in the 2025 regular season. Now, that's not to say that Whitewater is left for dead. They're going to struggle to get through that tape, and they'll have to pick themselves back up because, like a couple of other WIAC contenders, there's still a chance for 4 of these guys to get into the playoffs and make some noise. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Otherwise, I think chalk mostly reigned. Teams that we thought would win did. The only team we completely whiffed on was Benedictine. Both you, me, and Zach got that one wrong. Otherwise, some of us were right, some of us were wrong here and there. But for the most part, most of the games went the way we thought. We'll see if that continues. Week 10 has a ton of different clinching scenarios, and that's where we'll go from here.
Here's where we're going to go from here. I'm going to fix the word conferences races because that's grammatically incorrect. Now it's conference races.
Yeah.
Correct. See that? We're not even going back to edit that. We're just going to leave that in there because, I always pick on your mistakes. I make them all the time, too. I just have the ability to edit them out usually. Oh, yeah, no kidding. For me, that is, not you. Don't worry about that. But no, look, it goes back to the old thought of the depth of the WIAC or the WEAC in terms of roster depth is not strong enough to win each one of these power games and be consistent in these power games right now. And, Peter Jennings said it to us from Wisconsin Oshkosh. He agrees with our general premise that they knock each other out because of that general idea. And a game like that on Saturday, I think, proves it. The problem for the WIAC is what happens in the playoffs. Do they have the tools necessary to go 3 to 4 rounds deep, at least 1 or 2 of the teams? Are any of these teams winning the Stag Bowl this year? They're going to have to get through North Central and Mount Union, most likely, to do it. Although, we'll talk a little bit about Mount Union throughout this show,
What
too.
about Bethel? What about St. John? I mean, there's a lot of teams. Wartburg, and these WIAC teams can't seem to win on the road. It's always the home teams that win. So what happens if they don't get a home game? I don't know. We'll see.
Let's go to crunch time for week number 9 of the Division III 2025 season. I completely got the order wrong. I've made another mistake, but there's 9, and that's the week it is. Here we go. It's going to start here with Region 1, the MASCAC, Framingham State at Plymouth State. Third quarter, 9:41 remaining. Jacob Morris for Plymouth State gets a 13-yard touchdown pass from Braden Lynn to make it a 21-0 lead for Plymouth State. This game's over. No, of course not. Fourth quarter, 47 seconds into it, Framingham State's Alex Maya gets a 4-yard touchdown pass from Michael Moricella. Moricella, actually, 21-14 at that point. Framingham State coming back. Fourth quarter, 4:20 remaining. It's Ransford Adry, a 1-yard touchdown run. You would think it would be 21-21, but they got an illegal formation penalty on the kick, and so they try it again, and it's 21-20 because it is a failed extra point. Fourth quarter, it's 2:38 remaining. Plymouth State's Braden Lynn, a 66-yard touchdown run, makes it 28-20 at that point. 33 seconds left. Framingham State comes back one more time, though. Matthias Follower, 9-yard touchdown pass from Moricella, 28-26. They have to go for 2 to tie, and it is no good. The pass attempt failed, and that would do it, as Framingham State could not quite get over the top, and Plymouth State wins it 28-26. FSU gained Plymouth State 405 to 269, interestingly enough. Moricella, 36 for 45, 349 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Grave Walker for PSU, 23 rushes, 132 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Staying in the MASCAC, Anna Maria was in charge, but they'd have to beat Worcester State to stay so. A minute 2 into the third quarter, Deshaun Ware gets a 75-yard touchdown pass from Nico Boyce to make it 31-20 in favor of Anna Maria. Worcester State, though, responds. 9:26 left third quarter. Jack Poirier, a 32-yard touchdown pass from MJ Bekesa, 31-27 at that point. Anna Maria responds back. 15 seconds later, it's Damari Yancey with this 89-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Look at Damari go as he makes the score 38-27, but the Lancers would not go away. Fourth quarter, 13-17 remaining. Jermaine Norfolk, a 3-yard touchdown run plus the 2-point conversion made it a 3-point game, 38-35, Anna Maria leading. Then look here as you'll see Bekesa intercepted by Marzan Brinso. Anna Maria lucky to get that. And eventually, they would later on in the fourth quarter score again as Trishawn Blair gets a 4-yard touchdown run with 2.5 minutes left to make it 45-35. And that would be the final score with Anna Maria winning the game. Bekesa, 25 for 40, 266 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Nico Boyce, 15 for 23, 304 yards, 3 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. And AMC controls his fate in the MASCAC for that Pool A bid. We continue in Region 1 now. It's in the new MAC, USCGA at Salve Regina. At halftime, Coast Guard led 16-3. 5.5 minutes into the third quarter, Salve's Justin Luzzy, a 2-yard touchdown run, made it 17-16. Salve Regina's first lead of the game, I believe. Coast Guard responds 4 minutes later. Brooke Jesta, a 17-yard touchdown pass from Sean Burns, makes it 23-17, Coast Guard leading. 1:01 left third quarter, Salve's Justin Luzzy again, a 17-yard touchdown run, 24-23, Salve leading. They would take an 8-point lead with 10:52 left in the fourth quarter as Thomas Fallon gets a 12-yard touchdown run for Salve Regina, 31-23. That lead is 8 points, as I stated. Fourth quarter, 5:53 remaining. Coast Guard's Harrison Hensley, an 18-yard touchdown pass from Sean Burns, but the 2-point conversion pass would fail. 31-29, Salve still leads, but 3 plays later, Thomas Fallon complete to Kyle Crampton, but he is to fumble here, and ultimately it's recovered by Coast Guard. Basically, 2 plays later, Hensley again, a 30-yard touchdown run. Coast Guard's up 36-31. What a game this was. Unbelievable. Coast Guard back with the lead. 1:25 left in the fourth quarter. Justin Luzzy rushes for 6 yards to the Coast Guard 1-yard line and fumbles the ball. Recovered by Coast Guard. My goodness. They should have scored there. Unfortunately, the fumble seals their fate. 36-31. Coast Guard wins. 6 lead changes in this game. Luzzy, 36 rushes, 181 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Sean Burns from Coast Guard, 14 for 25, 197 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. JB, what a game that was. I had Salve in that game. I think you picked Coast Guard in that one. That was one of the ones you gained again on me on. But you know what? Both of them deserve to win that game and maybe deserve to lose it too for some of the moments they had in that game. But nonetheless, Coast Guard victorious and seemingly in a little bit of an interesting position we'll talk about a little bit later. But first, we've got some games you're going to tell us about, also from Region 1, also featured. Go ahead.
All right, Frank. Elsewhere, we saw Monty Quinn, another big rushing performance, almost 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. He only needs 72 yards to break 2,000. What a season for him. In the NESCAC, we saw 2 different types of games, one that went into overtime, high scoring between Wesleyan and Williams. The East actually led by 2 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter, but Matthew Fitzsimmons passes for almost 460 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, helps the Cardinals get a win there. And then meanwhile, in my hometown of Hartford, Connecticut, the Bantams had a defensive battle against Amherst. The Mammoth / Lord Jeffs only touchdown was a pick 6 by Tylik Sims. And Jackson Carroll for Trinity, almost 200 yards passing, and the game-winning touchdown pass effectively, even though he had to overcome 2 interceptions. Trinity, Wesleyan, I think, for the championship next Saturday. Elsewhere in Region 1, a lot of what you'd expect, the favorites winning mostly across the board. Endicott wins big. We saw Misericordia win. We saw MIT come out on top. Middlebury squeaks by Hamilton. Elsewhere, this Stevenson-Leadval score is something that we may look back on in a couple of weeks, pending on how the season ends in the MAC. More on that later. Otherwise, that's it for Region 1.
Let's go to Region 2, and we're going to start in Region 2 with Johns Hopkins at Muhlenberg, the game I attended. Minute 45 left first quarter. Johns Hopkins, Cole Karate with his 8-yard touchdown pass from Big Harvey made it a 20-0 lead for Johns Hopkins. Again, game's not over yet because it's on crunch time. Second quarter, 50 seconds remaining. It's Muhlenberg's Luke Spang, a 2-yard touchdown pass from Logan Nordic. So yes, watch it go round and round. Spang ends up with the ball there in the end zone, 27-13. Then just a couple plays later, Bay Harvey fumbles the ball, and it was forced by Blaze Curry and landed on by Alex Schaefer. That gives Muhlenberg a chance still in the first half to score again, and they do. Isaac Schaefer, a 2-yard touchdown run, makes it 27-19 at that point, and that's with 4 seconds left, so that's the end of the first half. An 8-point game. It was 20 not that long earlier. Third quarter, 4:29 remaining. Ty Pugliano, a 4-yard touchdown run for Johns Hopkins, makes it 34-19 at that point. And then third quarter, 1:06 remaining. John Rodfolo gets a 14-yard touchdown pass from Spang, 34-26. Muhlenberg not dead yet, but we'll fast forward to 3:01 left in the fourth quarter. Jeff Schroeder, a 22-yard touchdown run, 47-26 at that point. That's the final score. Hopkins wins at 47-26. Spang, 274 total yards, 1 passing, 1 rushing touchdown, and an interception. Jeff Schroeder, 28 rushes, 232 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Cole Karate, 2 receiving touchdowns on the day. We'll continue Region 2 with St. John Fisher at Utica. 9:49 left first quarter. Logan Frederick. It's a 32-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Peloris to make it a 7-0 score for Utica. Obviously, that's not Tyler Sokowski throwing the ball there, but guess what? In the next play we'll show you, it is. As it's 2:18 remaining first quarter, Logan Frederick, again, a 22-yard touchdown pass from Sokowski, makes it 14-0 Utica. Fisher tried to come back here. 6:17 left second quarter. Christian Beeson, a 2-yard touchdown run, 17-7 at that point, but Utica, in the first half, they put this game away pretty much. 27 seconds left. Bryce Palmer, a 19-yard touchdown pass from Tyler Sokowski, 24-7 at that point. Utica wins 31-7. Utica outgained Fisher to 417 yards to 216 yards. It was Christian Beeson with 1 rushing touchdown, and Logan Frederick, as we saw a couple, gets a couple touchdowns. He got 8 receptions, 129 yards, and those 2 receiving touchdowns. Eli Douglas, our guest from Friday, 7 tackles, and one of those was a half a tackle for loss. We'll continue in Region 2 with Montclair State at Christopher Newport. Start again in the third quarter, 6:11 left in it. It's Christopher Arnold, a 10-yard touchdown run, a lead for Montclair State at that point, 35-28, but Christopher Newport comes roaring back. 2:11 left third quarter. Ethan Barham, a 17-yard touchdown pass from Connor Berry, makes it 35 apiece. Christopher Newport continues in the first play in the fourth quarter, make that Fred Cowell the fourth, a 1-yard touchdown pass from Berry, 42-35. Christopher Newport leads. The captains continue 2 minutes later as Eddie Henderson gets his 50-yard pick six to make it 49-35 in favor of Christopher Newport. Make sure he gets to that end zone before we flip over here to talk about Montclair State still trying with 3:05 remaining in the fourth quarter. Deontay Wilson, a 2-yard touchdown run, 49-42 at that point. But you'll see here on 2nd and 4, a 5-yard rush. Tharrington with this first down for Christopher Newport, and that would do it as Christopher Newport hangs on to win after coming back 49-42. Montclair outgained Christopher Newport 483-388. Luke Henrik, 19 for 33, 310 yards, and 1 passing touchdown, but 3 interceptions. Connor Berry for CNU, 15 for 19, 209 yards, 4 passing, and 1 rushing touchdown, plus 1 interception. Finally, I will tell you about Hobart at Rochester in Region 2. 1:49 left second quarter, and Hobart's Luke Hescock gets a 6-yard touchdown pass from Jeremy Weiss to make it 21-0 Hobart win. Third quarter, though, they will see the comeback, as you know we will here for Rochester. 3:13 left, and it's Felsinger with a 26-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. As Rochester is now down 21-7. Fourth quarter, 12:11 left. Sean Bellinger, a 1-yard touchdown run, makes it 21-13. The kick failed there, so it's an 8-point lead for Hobart still. but we'll go fourth quarter, 4:36 remaining, and Cole Rao, a 5-yard run, also a 2-point conversion pass by Papatonis is good, 21 apiece, and we would go to overtime. In Hobart's end of overtime, Marcus Peterson, a 15-yard touchdown pass from True Styles, 28-21, and Rochester, and the other side of it, you'll see Sean Bellinger is incomplete to Aiden Papatonis. They had first and goal from the 4, but just couldn't punch it in, and that would do it. Hobart wins 28-21 in overtime. E.J. Taylor, 28 rushes, 196 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. He had 9 100-plus yard rushing performances in his last 11 games. That's a very good stat there for him. Kevin DeWall's 50th career win at Hobart. JB, a little bit of simultaneous possession you want to tell me about?
Yeah, well, back in the day when In the Huddle was with 2 L's and we just covered the Liberty League, there was a similar situation in the Liberty League championship game between Hobart and St. Lawrence that came down to the final play where the Hobart quarterback threw the ball, the Hobart receiver caught it, but also the defensive back for St. Lawrence did too. And St. Lawrence was like, we won the game, that's an interception. But the referee was like, no. Sort of like tie goes to the runner in baseball. Touchdown Hobart. Hobart wins the championship and goes to the playoffs. And that's how it goes. That's the rule.
Why don't you tell us about one other game that we're going to feature here in Region 2 as well?
Yeah, in the pack we had some Saturday Night Lights with Case and W&J. And even though we have Kellen Stahl listed here as the main yardage getter, I guess I should have mentioned that the dynamic duo of Kobe DeRosa and Andrew Sharp combined for 39 carries for 180 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. So the Presidents won this one on the ground, probably as much as they did at the air. But good effort by Case with Sam DiTilio throwing for, well, he combined for 275 total yards. Puts the Presidents in the catbird seat. Chance to win the pack this weekend when they play Geneva. Elsewhere in the Region 2 world, we saw Rowan take care of TCNJ, giving them their second loss of the season. We're going to see what happens with Rowan in the postseason. Maybe they'll file for an ECAC bid. Elsewhere, no real surprises from what I can see here. I mean, Susquehanna beating Westcon 34-0. Looks like the Riverhawks are back. Impressive win for them. Elsewhere, we saw Teal get its first win of the season, 48-20 over Hiram. And Carnegie Mellon, as we know, put a 70 burger up, scored 10 touchdowns on their 10 possessions. And impressive performance there by Conn Mellon.
Look, there's only so much space, okay, if you want to make them readable. But that's also because they're ranked. If they weren't ranked, they wouldn't. They'd have their full name there. It's the trade-offs in life, folks, on these scoreboards. Now, let's go to Region 3, Barry at center. And in the second quarter, 2.5 minutes left in that quarter, Barry's Brendan Gray gets a 41-yard touchdown pass from Christian Lewis to give Barry the 17-0 lead. 59 seconds left, though, in the second quarter. It's Tate Johnson for center, an 18-yard touchdown pass from Jack Goman to make it 17-7. Center tries to get even closer. Third quarter, 3:40 remaining. Travis Mumford, a 10-yard touchdown pass from Goman, makes it 17-13. So center getting within striking distance, but 2 minutes later, third quarter, 1:07 remaining. Cameron Coleman, a 36-yard touchdown pass from Christian Lewis, makes it 24-13 Barry. They'd add one more touchdown to make it 31-13 Barry. Goman for center, 24 for 38, 264 yards, 2 passing touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Christian Lewis for Barry, 17 for 25, 223 yards, 2 passing touchdowns and an interception. We'll continue with Southwestern and Millsaps in the SAA. Second quarter, 10:23 remaining. Greg Donaldson, a 27-yard touchdown pass from Grant Bizjack, made it 14 apiece as Millsaps ties the game right there. Southwestern, though, would take the lead on a field goal before halftime, 17-14. So we go to third quarter, 8:19 remaining. Millsaps, Tamarin Patterson, a 12-yard touchdown pass from Grant Bizjack, 21-17, Millsaps leading. Then 5 minutes later, it's Tamarin Patterson with a 4-yard touchdown run for himself there, 27-17, as Millsaps takes a 10-point lead. Fast forward to the fourth quarter, 12:35 remaining. Southwestern's Graydon Thompson, 11-yard touchdown from Jackson Sims, 27-24, Millsaps still leading. Southwestern got the ball back with 55 seconds left, got to the Millsaps 43, but you'll see here that Jackson Sims is intercepted by Peyton Depoliti, and that would do it, as Millsaps holds on 27-24. Jackson Sims from Southwestern, 22 for 35, 196 yards and 2 passing touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. Grant Bizjack, 20 for 31, 266 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Region 3 continues with Shenandoah at Randolph-Macon in the ODAC. 2:18 remaining first quarter. Dante Casiola for Randolph-Macon gets a 3-yard touchdown run to make it 14-0. RMC leading the game. 9:51 left in the second quarter, though. It's Jaron Mitchell, a 65-yard pick six for Shenandoah, halves the lead to 14-7 at that point as Shenandoah tries to make a comeback, but Dante Casiola and company say nope. Second quarter, 1:47 remaining. He gets a 6-yard touchdown run for Macon, 21-7 at that point, and then the Yellow Jackets continue. 18 seconds into the third quarter, the first play basically from scrimmage, Jason Moore, 66 yards, 28-7 at that point. Final score 31-14, Randolph-Macon wins. It's RMC's 32nd consecutive ODAC win. They outgained Shenandoah 388 to 165 in total yards. Casiola 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. JB, I told you about 3 games with video. You're going to tell us about 2 more that we're going to feature right here from Region 3.
Yeah, basically these were 2 separation games in the conference races in the SCAC and the USA South. And as you can see by the results, clearly Texas Lutheran and Belhaven made statement wins. I mean, credit McMurray's Dylan Plake. He did have a passing touchdown, but struggled a little bit. Reese Dietrich, on the other hand, 206 total yards, 2 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. On the Belhaven, Southern Virginia side of things, their quarterback had a pretty good game, 23 of 32 for 207 yards and a passing and 2 rushing touchdowns. But really it was Brock Morris for the Blazers with 268 total yards, 5 total touchdowns. He did have an interception, but it didn't really matter. They won easily and sets up a big winner-take-all game against LaGrange in Georgia this weekend. Speaking of LaGrange and the rest of Region 3, as I said, that they're at the top of the USA South along with Belhaven. They beat Greensboro pretty easily, 49-20. Huntington took care of Brevard. We saw Hampton-Sydney win big. We saw Trinity win big. Hardin-Simmons won big. So did Hendricks. You kind of see a theme here. Hey, let's credit Roanoke. 4-3 overall in their first season back after however many decades. 21-20 beating Guilford. 3-3 in the ODAC. What a season for them. And then last but not least, Washington Lee keeps winning. They're probably headed towards a Chesapeake Bowl potentially. And then we saw Lyon beat Austin, and UMHB took care of ETBU.
I think you should take a little break here. I'm going to take all of Region 4's featured games just for you because I think you need a little bit of water or something. So go ahead. I'll take care of it here. Region 4, we're going to start with the MIAA. Alma at Trine. First quarter, 2:18 remaining. Eddie Williams for Alma gets a 6-yard touchdown run. It's 21-7, Alma leading. Trine, though, they've had a back-and-forth season. Second quarter, 13:44 remaining. Owen Hebard, a 3-yard pass from R.J. West for the touchdown. 21-14 at that point. But Carter St. John, we all know about him. 2 minutes later, gets a 28-yard touchdown run in the 8-play drive. 28-14, Alma leading. And then later on, Eddie Williams with a 2-yard touchdown run with 1:56 left in the second quarter made it 35-14. Final score in this one, Alma wins 42-28. R.J. West for Trine, 16 rushes, 93 yards, 36 for 49 for 306 yards and 2 passing touchdowns in addition. So about 399 yards for him, 2 interceptions. Obviously a little bit of a bugaboo, but Carter St. John, 20 for 27, 278 yards, 1 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. Then one of those out-of-conference games for the OAC that we talk about, Mount St. Joseph at Ohio Northern. This was a great game. 1:14 left, second quarter. Mount St. Joseph's Michael Hunkus gets a 66-yard touchdown pass from Jackson Schreiber, 20-14 at that point. Mount St. Joseph leading. Ohio Northern on the other side of the break, 2:20 into that third quarter. Sam Feldman gets a 49-yard touchdown run, 21-20. Ohio Northern with the lead at that point. But 18 seconds later, the next play from scrimmage, Eli Aston gets a 68-yard touchdown pass from Schreiber. 28-21, Mount St. Joseph leads after they get the 2-point conversion on a rush play. We'll go to 9:14 left in the third quarter. Michael Hunkus, a 51-yard touchdown pass from Schreiber. They're connecting on long distance passes throughout this game. It made it 35-21 MSJ. But third quarter, 6:29 remaining, Ohio Northern comes back. Zach Leknowitz gets a 3-yard touchdown run to make it 35-28 at that point. JB's looking at me like, yeah, I can't believe you finally said that. And then we'll go third quarter, 4:05 remaining as they got the ball back. Louis Blasio gets a 1-yard touchdown run. We're tied again. Ohio Northern was down 14, but now they're tied with MSJ. They traded touchdowns to be tied again, 42 apiece late in the fourth quarter. So 1:55 remaining in the game. Blasio gets a 13-yard touchdown run, 49-42, Ohio Northern leading. We'll see here with 1:10 left or thereabouts. Schreiber is sacked and fumbles the ball, recovered by Dreas Barrett, and that would do it as Ohio Northern holds on 49-42. In a battle of two teams with only one loss in their respective conferences, great game was played there. Schreiber, 19 for 40, 406 yards, 6 passing touchdowns and an interception. Blasio, the running back for ONU, 31 rushes, 125 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Finally, in Region 4, Baldwin Wallace at Muskingum. Second quarter, 10:06 remaining. Baldwin Wallace's Xavier Bouncing gets his 27-yard touchdown pass from Charlie hooked on Bobonics. 14-7 is the score, Baldwin Wallace leading. But Muskingum comes back. 8:02 remaining second quarter. Riley Woody, an 8-yard touchdown, made it 14 apiece. So Muskingum fighting hard in this game. 2:25 left second quarter. Josiah Sessler, a 1-yard run for the touchdown for Baldwin Wallace, made it 21-14 at halftime. Fourth quarter, 9:18 remaining. It's again Baldwin Wallace's Boston Mielniks, a 3-yard touchdown run, 28-14 at that point. The teams would trade touchdowns, so Baldwin Wallace would stay up by 14. But we go late here, 1:01 left fourth quarter. David Westrick, a 6-yard touchdown pass from Garrett Gurney. So it's 35-28 at that point. 55 seconds left fourth quarter. George Lindberger, our friend from earlier this season on our show, gets a 4-yard gain for the first down and would end the game. Baldwin Wallace wins it 35-28 over Muskingum. Garrett Gurney, 26 for 39, 229 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Bobonics, 21 for 32, 237 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Baldwin Wallace had a little bit of a scare in that one, but they continue to be the second place standard bearer in the OAC. JB, tell us more.
Yeah, and if you look at the 12 games here and then the 13th on the back side of this thing, all the teams with the better records basically won, right? The one game that sort of jumps out to me, Frank, is this Wabash 28-21 victory. They are the quietest 7-1 team, although they're creeping into some polls now in the top 25, so the Little Giants getting some national respect for their season so far. Elsewhere, we saw Hanover took care of Bluffton. We thought this might be a close game. It was not. Hanover wins the Heartland with a 48-0 thumping of Bluffton. Not even close. So they're going to the playoffs. Congratulations to the Panthers. Backside, Marietta beats Wilmington, and that's it for Region 4.
Thanks, JB. We'll go to Region 5 now. You'll have a little work to do here, I promise, besides just some of the back page scores. And we'll start with here, though, with Benedictine at St. Norbert in the NACC. Second quarter, 4:34 left. Benedictine's Dino Stevens gets a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 14-7, but St. Norbert would kick a field goal before halftime. It's 14-10 at halftime as a result of that. So we'll go ahead to the second half, 3:31 left, third quarter. St. Norbert's Will Darden gets a 1-yard touchdown run to take the lead for St. Norbert, 17-14 at that point. And then they would add on another touchdown with 16 seconds left in the third quarter. It's Jacob McBain getting a 49-yard touchdown pass from Michael Meneguzzo. 24-14 is the lead by St. Norbert. Benedictine needs to win this game to still have a chance for a Pool C bid. So the comeback in the fourth quarter, 8:20 remaining. Leonidas Gamino gets a 29-yard field goal. It's 24-17, so a one-possession game. St. Norbert went on basically a 14-play, 7.5-minute drive. They'd have to punt. So here's the last chance for Benedictine. Philip Jacobs is incomplete from the 41-yard line, and that would do it. Benedictine's playoff hopes may have just gone poof as they lose 24-17 to St. Norbert. Dino Stevens, 23 rushes, 95 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Michael Meneguzzo, 21 for 27, 216 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Also, Region 5. If you could only see what JB does to me behind the scenes, you would really laugh your butts off, folks. Simpson at Loris. 13:33 left, fourth quarter. We'll fast forward big time in this game as Mekhi Holmes gets a 42-yard pick six, 21-0. Simpson with the big lead. The teams would trade touchdowns to make it 28-6. But 7:15 remaining fourth quarter, Loris's Jacob Rickman, a 14-yard touchdown run, 28-14 at that point. So a comeback by Loris? We'll assume so, because 5:01 left fourth quarter. Isaac Oster, an 18-yard touchdown pass from Rickman, 28-21. So they're coming roaring back here. Fourth quarter, 1:11 left. Isaac Oster again from Rickman. A 31-yard touchdown pass this time. Makes it 28-27. But the conversion is no good as the kick is blocked by Noah Noland. And that would do it. It protects the 28-27 final score in favor of Simpson. Loris outgained Simpson 495 to 369. Rickman 444 total yards, 3 passing, 1 rushing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Jaden Thorson for Simpson 18 for 25, 265 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Finally for me in Region 5, Wartburg at Nebraska Wesleyan. 15 seconds left in the first quarter. You'll see here on this 4th and 4, a blocked punt as Jason O'Boy blocked it, and it's recovered by Cam Stevens, and eventually it's at the 19-yard line. One play later, Dylan Swanstrom gets a 19-yard touchdown run with no time left in the first quarter. 7-0, Wartburg with the lead. We'll go second quarter. 5:42 remaining. Jace Winkler for Nebraska Wesleyan, I should say, gets a 28-yard field goal on a 15-play drive. 7-3. That was our halftime score. 7-3. Again, Wartburg not showing a lot of strength in that first half, but we continue to the third quarter. 9:38 remaining. Sam Hyther, an 8-yard touchdown pass from Leo Dodd. It's 13-3, Wartburg leading. And then 50 seconds remaining third quarter. Joey Anderson, a 1-yard touchdown run, 20-3. Wartburg puts it together in the second half and wins 34-10. Wartburg wins the ARC championship, and Leo Dodd for Wartburg was 16 for 24, 165 yards, 2 passing touchdowns on the day. JB, sing me a song, please. Let's get some music.
We'll get something going here. First off, though, who picked Chicago to beat Monmouth in Week 9? Wasn't us. 29-0. They were out. They outgained Chicago, 304-84 total yards. Woo, man. Nate Rubrick for Monmouth, 34 rushes, 139 yards, a rushing touchdown. Our guy Braden Deem, who was on the Friday show, had 1 rushing touchdown. He didn't have to throw the ball much because how the Scots were able to move. And finally, Frank, punching their ticket. We want the funk. The Concordia University, Wisconsin Falcons are going to the playoffs, everybody. Roman Funk, 20 of 29, 316 yards, 3 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. Forget about that interception, no big deal. You throw the ball a bunch of times, you might get picked off. The Funksters, the Funky Falcons, are going to the playoffs. And that's it. Oh, wait a minute. I got to talk about the rest of Region 5. We got North Central, Wheaton, each doing 60 burgers. Aurora beats Wisconsin Lutheran. They have a chance at the Lakefront Bowl. We'll see what happens there. Co wins. We saw Lakeland win big. Wash U wins. They're in the running for the Isthmus Bowl. And Central, North Park winning. We also saw Illinois College, Ripon, Lake Forest, 72 burger. Whew, that's a big one. They're trying to get into the Lakefront Bowl. We'll see what happens with Coach Katz guys. Augustana wins, and so does Cornell, then wraps it up for Region 5.
I'll give you a second to put that down because I got 2 games to tell folks about in Region 6. We'll do it quickly here as Whitewater took on River Falls, as we talked about earlier. 6 minutes into the first quarter, Austin Rush. He gets a pass from Caleb Blaha, 12-yard touchdown pass, 7-0 at that point. River Falls leads. 4 minutes later, it's Steven Reifenberger getting a 32-yard touchdown pass from Blaha. 14-0. River Falls onto something here, but Whitewater would respond. 5 minutes left, second quarter. Tyler Vasey, a 13-yard touchdown pass from Justin Klinkner. Made it 14-7, but let's see what happens next. Oh, wow. 12 seconds later, a 75-yard touchdown pass from Caleb Blaha to Jake Hilton. 21-7 at that point. Then a minute 20 later, a one-play drive again, 82 yards. Blaha to Blake Rohrer. It's 28-7. We'll let him run to the end zone as I tell you the final score is 52-14. River Falls outgained Whitewater 619-239. Klinkner 18 for 35, 193 yards, 2 passing touchdowns and 1 interception. Caleb Blaha 555 total yards, 5 passing, 2 rushing touchdowns. That is not a misprint there, folks. My goodness. Then Oshkosh at Platteville, exactly. Second quarter, 7:51 remaining in it. Hunter Gibson gets a 69-yard touchdown pass from Quentin King. 7 apiece. Oshkosh trying to stay level pegging here with Platteville, but Platteville pushes away. 3:48 left in the second quarter. Trevor Burnett, a 1-yard touchdown run, 14-7 at that point. Platteville leads. Then fourth quarter, 40 seconds into it, it's Burnett again with another 1-yard touchdown run to make the score at that point 21-7. Fourth quarter, 6:26 remaining. Oshkosh's Kevon Holloway, a 2-yard touchdown pass from A.J. Korth, 21-14. Oshkosh would get the ball back, who would have to punt from their own 31-yard line on a 4th and 29. And then Trevor Burnett ends things with this rush for 2 yards and the first down. That would do it. 21-14, Platteville beats Oshkosh. Keene, 12 for 19, 142 yards, 1 passing touchdown and an interception. Blake Bankston for UWP, 23 carries, 121 yards on the day. Just inconsistency throughout the WEAC. You just can't pick a team week to week to dominate, although lacrosse is looking like the catbird seat with River Falls, and they'll face each other this coming Saturday. We'll see where that goes on Friday when we talk about it. But first, you have 2 more games to tell us about in Region 6.
Yeah, but first, you couldn't hear it, Frank, when you did that rushing pass joke. I had to give that the... That's for you. Anyway, in the Northwest Conference, Linfield takes care of Lewis and Clark 29-21. Mateo Manahara for Lewis and Clark threw for 142 yards, had a couple of passing touchdowns. It was really Luke McNabb who had the game. 19-27, 287 yards, 2 passing, 1 rushing TD. We're probably not going to see the Wildcats in the playoffs, but they're going to finish with, I think, their 70th or 60-something consecutive winning season. So congratulations to them. Over in the MIAC, the Jack Curtis show, the train keeps on rolling. Chemo can't stop him. He throws 307 passing yards, 24-34, 4 passing touchdowns. They're 6-1 in the MIAC. I wish that there was some kind of bowl game for these guys. They really deserve it. What a great season for Jack Curtis and the Knights, sitting at 6-2. Elsewhere in Region 6, we talked a little bit about the wacky WIAC. You can see some of the results here. And also in the MIAC, St. John's and Bethel win comfortably. We saw Northwestern beat Martin Luther. There's some weird stuff going on with the UMAC we'll talk about in a bit. There's some tiebreakers and situations that could come up. We'll cover that soon. St. Scholastica, we saw Stevens Point outlast Eau Claire. That's the only real close game we saw in the WIAC this weekend. Westminster, Crown wins. In the SCIAC, Redlands is coming on strong late. We saw Cal Lutheran eke one out against Claremont. We saw Whitworth squeak one out against Pac Lutheran. They're in position to win that conference, but this kind of result is a little concerning. We'll see. Pacific wins big. George Fox wins big. We saw McAllister beat St. Olaf. And Chapman, the SCIAC survivors, 22-14. Not their best game, but they take care of Pomona and Pittsburgh 22-14.
What is their best game? They just seem to, except for the game I attended, just kind of eke them out left, right, and center. So, hey, Chapman just finds a way to win all the time. That's the way it works. That was crunch time for week number 9 of the 2025 Division III college football season. JB, we have 15 good minutes left. I'm going to have you quickly go through your MVPs because we have a lot to talk about here with respect to NPI and clinching possibilities. So hit it with your MVPs.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Well, for week 9, I had to go with Caleb Blaha. I mean, how do you put up almost 600 yards of offense and not name him the offensive MVP? I mean, a career game and just an awesome performance, like I said, against a really good Whitewater defense that just seemed to, maybe they took the day off, I don't know, but he played great. So I have to go with Caleb, no surprise there. given, and this isn't on Pat because it's up to the SIDs and coaches of Region 1, there wasn't a single Region 1 guy on the D3Football.com Team of the Week. So I'm going to give the Region 1 guys a little bit of love this week to shout out Damari Yancey from Anna Maria, where timing is sometimes everything. He ended up with over 135 kickoff return yards, but it was his 89-yard kickoff return in the Worcester State game. The AMCATs were leading 31-27, and it looked like the Lancers were just about to get back into this when all of a sudden this guy rattles up for 89 yards, puts them back in a comfortable lead, and that was a big game changer and could be, when they look back on this season, a real turning point onto why these guys may end up winning the MASCAC championship. But speaking of the MASCAC, Aiden Fritz from Plymouth State, he had a game-high 14 total tackles. 10 of those were solo and 2 pass breakups. So not only can the guy stuff the run, but he can cover. And one of those PBUs was right as time expired in the first half, knocked down a sure touchdown for Framingham State, which would have given them some momentum going into the half. Great job by Aiden, a fellow from Connecticut like me. He's from Colchester, and he was my defensive MVP of Week 9.
You gained 2 more games on me total, or surpassed me by that, whatever you want to call it. You're up by 8 right now, and we're back at 159 games total. So we may have to pick 21 on Friday to get us back to an even number.
I think so.
I get a little OCD like that with numbers for whatever reason. Anyways,
I'll make a note.
Yep, making notes to pick one extra game. Okay, let's make some notes here. I'm going to take folks through possible clinching situations. We'll let you come in after I finish a page each time. So if you want to call out any of these, feel free to. First, ASC. Let's just say if Hardin-Simmons beats Mary Hardin-Baylor, they win. I will also throw in if Hardin-Simmons essentially loses by anything of 20 points or less, they win it also. Could win it still, realistically. They still have 1 game left after that. But if they win, they are basically done. It's over ASC-wise. CCIW, it's either North Central wins or Milliken beats Wheaton. I will assume that North Central beating Elmhurst is more likely anyway in this. Cortland with a win versus
60.
Brockport. Yeah, well, Cortland with a win versus Brockport would end things. If it goes the other way, then we'd have to wait out 1 more week to see what happens with Brockport. Landmark Susquehanna is in with a win versus Wilkes, so the sky is not falling for Susquehanna, despite those 2 losses earlier this season. In the MAC, Eastern will clinch with a win versus FDU Florham, or if Delaware Valley beats Misericordia. I guess either is possible, or that's an and. So both of those are possible, I should say. So we could be crowning Eastern this week. If not, I think we have a big game still to come for Eastern at the end of the season coming up. I believe Stevenson, if I'm not incorrect on that, but I'll have you check on that. That's for me, who their
Week
last
11.
game is. There we go. MASCAC, Anna Maria clinches with a 3-way conjunction here. They win versus Bridgewater State, and Fitchburg State beats Plymouth State, and Dean beats Framingham State. So a lot has to happen. That probably goes to week 11 if I had to guess here. MIAA, Alma would win with a win versus Kalamazoo, and if Trine beats Adrian, that's a tough one to expect right there, but it could happen. Mayak Bethel wins with a win versus Carleton. So out of those 8 right there, what are you looking at most?
Probably the Anna Maria situation. I mean, they basically just have to beat Bridgewater State, which is about a 500 team in the MASCAC. They're a good team, and the Bears certainly could beat the AMCATs. But the final week of the season, Anna Maria plays Dean, and Dean, I don't even know if they've won a game this year. They may have won 1. So this is it. If they can beat Bridgewater, they set themselves up for a championship weekend in week 11. So they just have to beat the Bears.
Let's go to the second page. In the Midwest Conference, Monmouth with a win versus Ripon, or if Beloit beats Chicago. So we'll focus on the win versus Ripon, be honest there. Then the NCAC, John Carroll is in with a win versus Ohio Wesleyan, or 3 things happening. Basically, DePaul, Wabash, and Denison all lose. So we'll assume that the first case is the more likely. NESCAC doesn't get a Pool A bid, but we would call out here that a win versus Wesleyan gives them sole first place and the win of the NESCAC crown in their final week in the NESCAC coming up. In the NEWMAC, you've got Coast Guard or Springfield basically in play here. The winner of the game on Saturday wins the NEWMAC. In the NJAC, same thing. The winner of the Chris Newport versus Salisbury game wins the NJAC. And in the Northwest Conference, Whitworth is in with a win versus Willamette or Puget Sound beating Linfield. I would assume the first is, again, more likely on that. Go ahead and call one out.
Well, the obvious one to call out is the Coast Guard Springfield game, because the loser of this game probably misses the playoffs. Maybe they get a Fusion Bowl bid, which is what the NEWMAC's been doing these last few years. So this is a do or die situation for the Bears and the Pride. Real quick on the NJAC side, this is not an elimination game, but whoever wins is pretty well secured in the top 5 or 6 in NPI. The loser will still make the playoffs, in my opinion, and we'll get into that later.
Finally, on the back page here, or the third set, in the OAC, Mount Union with a win versus Marietta clinches. Randolph-Macon is in with a loss by Hampton-Sydney. Otherwise, we go to week 11 there, so Bridgewater could take care of business for Randolph-Macon. Washington-Jefferson in the pack is in with a win versus Geneva. And Grove City will probably struggle here and not make the playoffs as a result if that happens. The SAA, Barry with a win versus Maryville would win the SAA. If Maryville wins this game, we got some things to talk about coming up about different scenarios here. USA South, we basically have a do-or-die game here as Belhaven and LaGrange, the winner wins the USA South Pool A bid. In the WEAC, UW-La Crosse, River Falls, the winner does not outright clinch. We had to correct some folks on this earlier this weekend. You also need essentially the Stout Platteville game to play a role in this whole thing. So La Crosse needs Stout to win if they win. River Falls needs Platteville to win if they win. Otherwise, we'll go to week 11 with a possible tiebreaker scenario looming. JB, one more time. Pick your favorite here.
Well, you already said it on the USA South thing being do or die, so I'll highlight the WIAC game just from the standpoint of the home teams have been winning these games, and River Falls is the home team. La Crosse has been the favorite, the top-ranked team in the WIAC for most, if not all, of the season. So can a WIAC team win a big game on the road? We'll have to wait and see.
We shall see. So, JB, as you know, we try to track different scenarios through these conferences, try to look at tiebreakers. Folks have brought up a couple. MIA, we're still waiting on the answer for that one. We think it may be the Rose Bowl rule, and if that's the case, I believe Adrian would get in if it came to a three-way tie there. We're confirming that, so don't take that as necessary truth. However, we did dig up the old Liberty League rule, and here's how it sits. This, folks, kind of get a beverage. This. Yeah, pause the show, go get a beverage, and then come back and restart it. Here we go. So if Ithaca beats RPI and they go into the clubhouse in the Liberty League, their season isn't over in terms of playoff implications for the Liberty League. Because if RPI then beats Union and we end up with a three-way tie between RPI, Union, and Ithaca, here's how it goes. The tiebreaker that matters is win-loss record versus teams that are 500 or better. Throw out the conference opponents because everybody's got the same record against 500 or better conference opponents at that point. We know that. So it comes to non-conference opponents, and we did the math on this. Ithaca would need to beat Cortland to either force another tiebreaker or win it outright if Alfred wins their last two games. So let me make this clear. If RPI beats Union and Ithaca loses to Cortland, RPI wins the bid. If RPI wins and Ithaca beats Cortland, we either go to a fourth tiebreaker, which is the record versus teams less than 500, or if Alfred wins two games in their next two games, basically it would give Ithaca the win, I believe is the way it works. So more or less here, folks, it comes down to RPI, Ithaca, and Ithaca Cortland possibly, and RPI Union. So 3 games are going to determine the Liberty League, one of which involves a team not in the Liberty League, Ithaca versus Cortland. We'll write that up. We'll show it to you online later this week.
Go figure.
But yeah, Cortica could influence the Liberty League Championship and who gets in. How's that for a weird result right there? Have you been enjoying our new NPI tools?
Yeah.
You sound so excited by this.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah. And now we got a mileage thing because for some weird reason the NCAA wants to hide that information. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't get that either. So we were playing around with another tool that we created here, and maybe we'll release this eventually. But we are looking here at scenarios and what the top 40 would look like in different scenarios. So first we went just plain better team in the NPI wins all the remaining games, all 229 games, including the SCAC and the SCIAC championship games. We want to point out some things here. If that happens, look at University of New England, number 18, because
18.
if they beat Curry and they beat New England College, they'll be 9-1, and they will be number 18 in the NPI rankings, essentially. So how's that for something? Johns Hopkins is no surprise there. Wartburg, a little surprising that North Central and Mount Union are not above them, but it's schedule, folks. You know how this works. River Falls is a one-loss team, rises above a couple undefeateds here, as you can see. Bethel and Salisbury, are there as well. You look at this list with all these teams, and you see names like Concordia, Wisconsin you're not used to seeing. Hanover's in there. Whitworth instead of Linfield. Anna Maria and Crown. Crown with the UMAC, we realized after somebody called us out on it, that the UMAC will not be decided this week because they have a weird tie-break situation there because some teams are played twice and some aren't, because they only have 6 teams in that conference and they need to complete schedules. So as a result, basically Northwestern of Minnesota could somehow sneak into the playoffs at 5-5, or Greenville could still possibly get in as well. But Crown right now is in control of their own destiny. If they win out, they win. So we keep them there for now, but you can see that nobody else in the UMAC's getting in. The Crown's NPI is a full 10 points below what the cut line is showing. Call out something else. Muhlenberg, if they went out, would be the 12th Pool C team selected. Look at who the second team out is.
The team
Franklin
they
and
lost
Marshall.
to by 1 point.
Yep.
God.
Franklin and Marshall would miss the cut unless some teams above them lose and make room for them. Franklin and Marshall would not be in. Utica also would be the first team out if nothing upsetting happens in the meantime to flip a couple of these spots around. Again, look at where Pool C's 13th bid is, and that's where you got to start watching. It's not the AQs. You got to watch the blue badges there with the Pool C numbers in them to understand what the possibilities are for a team like that. So, Muhlenberg losing would possibly free up Franklin and Marshall to get in somehow, although maybe their number drops because of that too. Wheaton losing would help Franklin and Marshall. You can see kind of what you have to start rooting for if you're a Utica or Franklin and Marshall there. Plymouth State, we lost the STI in the end of state. Apologies for that. Augustana, interestingly enough, are the first 4 out. Then we played with some scenarios here, JB. What if Maryville beats Berry but loses to Trinity? Okay, fair enough. Well, we know that Trinity obviously would be in, and Trinity, if I'm looking quickly, is at number 12 as a result of that. Berry falls down to number 32 in that scenario. So Trinity, the team that lost to Berry, would go way up above Berry in that situation, and Maryville is nowhere to be found in that list. What if Maryville loses to Barry but beats Trinity. Okay, let's play that one out. Well, Trinity is the final Pool C team in that scenario currently. You'll see them at number 32, but it's the 13th Pool C team. Maryville is the 4th team out. So Maryville beats Trinity and doesn't get in, but Trinity does.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Welcome to NPI, everybody. We also looked at some other things here. What about New England College? If they lose to Curry, what happens to them?
You mean the U of New England?
University of New England. Did I say New England College? Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Basically, UNE in that case, I don't see them anywhere on this page. And so that loss would take them out of contention, most likely entirely. So you can see the importance of that Curry game for UNE. They must win it and then beat New England College in Week 11 to have that playoff berth basically happen. Because, again, I don't see them anywhere on this list. No, they fall out on this.
Nope.
What if Hopkins loses both their games? Just for shiggles here, we played a couple of these. Because could losing 2 games at this stage keep a top team in? The answer is yes. They only fall to number 27. They would get the 10th Pool C bid under those circumstances, the way things currently stand. What about if Mount Union loses 2? Well, they stay in, but they're the final Pool C at number 33. What if North Central loses 2? You know, like Elmhurst could beat them this week or something.
No way. Come on.
They are out. So basically, you need to still win a game, even if you're in the top 5 of the NPI. Or at least the 4th or worst position in NPI, you still have to win a game out of your last 2. Otherwise, it's very unforgiving. We don't look at Wartburg; they're already in through their Pool A bid. Let's see, Union sweeping the remaining games. What happens to them? Well, Union's in, and RPI is out at that point. Not even in the final or the first 4 out. We call them 41 through 44 there. So Union would get to the number 37 position, still not above the Pool C cut line, and RPI would be entirely out. And let's see, finally we had one more here. Oh, Mary Hardin-Baylor sweeping the remaining games. Now, that assumes that they don't win by 21 or more against Hardin-Simmons, because otherwise they get the Pool A bid in that circumstance. Mary Hardin-Baylor, as it stands right now, would be the 4th team out. They would not be in at 5-3, or is it 5-3 or whatever, 5-2, I guess technically in that situation. Mm-hmm. So they would not be in currently, but that could change again if teams above them were to fall throughout these next 2 weeks. So Mary Hardin-Baylor still needs some help if they can beat Hardin-Simmons this week. First things first, we have to get there. So JB. You saw.
Can you go back to the first one? Can you go back to the first one, Frank?
Max out. Yep, the max out winners
the max
of
out.
NPI.
A couple of things that I wanted just to point out. So what was sort of jumped out to me, look at number 14, Coast Guard. They were picked here because they have one less loss than Springfield in the system. But remember, this is a Springfield Pride team that basically shut out Platteville in the second half earlier this season. So if Springfield wins that game on Saturday, that could change the makeup of this a little bit. Springfield will be lower down in like the 25 or lower range, I think, with 2 losses. And then I also, this jumps out at me, Frank, when you look at like 28 and 29 with Hope and Baldwin Wallace, those are really good teams to be sort of seated that low. And it's interesting, once again, Alma is ranked below Hope, even though they technically beat them in that game. So, and look at Wheaton at 32, just barely squeaking in. And a lot of people think that they're, from one of the better conferences. I'm not of that opinion with the CCIW. I know I'm in the minority there, but still, Wheaton and that kind of situation could be set up for a nice run. We'll see. And
hey, I'm going to answer one of your questions here.
Susquehanna at 37.
Yeah, well,
what's that?
At 37 because they are technically below the cut line entirely, so the landmark is not going to be above the cut line. To answer your question, what happens if Coast Guard beats Merchant Marine but loses first to Springfield? they're the second team out currently without more help above them. So Coast Guard needs to win against Springfield. Otherwise, they're leaving it to chance. And yeah, maybe they still get in. Maybe a couple teams lose, but it would spoil what would in this case be an 8-2 season. To have that loss occur in that situation. So they need to probably do their job this weekend if they can do it against a Springfield team. But again, if underdogs outperform against teams in the 30s currently or upper 20s, a lot changes. But then also those teams that are winning from outside the top 40 could actually insert themselves in with a great win. So it's not impossible for teams to leapfrog too. So we looked here at the idea of the better NPI winning all the time. Doesn't always happen, and sometimes that leapfrogging can occur too. So nobody's guaranteed anything on these sheets either. We just looked at basically if NPI just holds true for the remainder of the season and then started playing with a couple scenarios to see how teams would fare. So there you go, folks. Go to d3fbhuddle.com/NPI. The tools are all there, including the mileage calculator that JB thinks is a very proprietary piece of information that the NCAA should be hiding, it sounds like. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about on Week 10's preview show. I'm going to let you finish things up. You're about to say something, and then if you want to close out with final thoughts on Week number 9.
Well, one of the funny things that we noticed about the mileage calculator is that because of sort of random nuances with one-way streets and stuff when you go to college campuses, sometimes the distance is like 302 miles, and then the way back it's like 304. So it's kind of funny how that works. But overall, we're getting into the main course, the final couple weeks of the regular season. There's a lot of teams that are going to clinch championship bids, and that'll be exciting for them. There'll be some great rivalry games over the next 2 weeks. A lot of them in Week 11. We got to wait for those. But things are shaping up to be pretty interesting. And this whole NPI thing, Frank, is as flawed as it is, does create some interesting scenarios. We'll see. I've seen some chatter on certain places saying that certain teams are overrated and underrated by NPI, and there's some truth to that for sure. It'll just be interesting to see once the bracket is released on Sunday. What is it, the 16th of November, 5:30, and we'll plan to go live and talk a little bit about that once that's released and kind of see what we get.
And probably get some folks that are either in or just outside of that bracket, depending on how things turn out. Based on, again, it's Saturday night. They press a button, we see it, we tell you who's in. It's changed completely in that. But then how they're playing, who they're playing, when they're playing is the mystery until the next Sunday, or the next day on that Sunday, including, you would assume the bottom 16 teams are the ones that play in the first 8 games of the first round. That's not always the case based on geography.
At least not last year.
So, no. So just you'll have to stay tuned to see what happens with that. Folks, we'll see you Friday morning with a couple of great guests. It's not the day the lights went out in Georgia. That's all I'm going to tell you in terms of a hint for what we're doing on Saturday, or on Friday, rather. Peachy Keen, yes, indeed. We'll see you on Friday, folks.